Alright everybody, your do now for today says, what is the perimeter of a square with a side length of 6? And what is the circumference of a circle with a radius of 6? So, pause your video now so you have a chance to do the do now. Okay, so if you have a square with a side length of 6, that means, since all the sides are the same, all of the sides are 6. And for the perimeter, you just add all the outside sides. So 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6. The perimeter of the square is 24 units. Now for a circle, you got to remember the two formulas for the circumference. There's one that is 2 times pi times the radius, and there's the other that is pi times the diameter. Well, since we were already given the radius, let's use this formula right here where we plug in the radius. So, we're going to take that, we're going to plug it in. We have circumference equals 2 times pi times 6, which gives you 12 times pi, which on your calculator, if you want an approximate answer to that, it's about 37.7 units. So that was just a quick review of perimeter from yesterday. That's a one-dimensional way to measure shapes. Today we're going to move on to a two-dimensional way called area, which is basically figuring out how much space is inside of each figure rather than looking at the outside. A quick heads up of where we are today. Remember, yesterday was perimeter, and the next 3 days are all area based. So this was a one-dimensional measurement. These 3 days are going to be a two-dimensional measurement. And down here, when we get to volume, that's a three-dimensional measurement. We're not going to get into 4 because that's confusing and might blow your minds. But remember, you had Delta Math due today. Hopefully you already did it. And if it's before class time by now, then period 3, period 5, period 9, I'm meeting with you. And tomorrow I'm meeting with periods 2, 4, and 8. And also, I know yesterday I said no chess here and here. Chess is everywhere now. Email me for details. Chess is all over. We can do it 24/7. So these are the formulas you're going to need to know for area. And right here, I just stole this graphic from the internet, but like surface, what they mean for all of these is just the area. So this first one, I also don't really like the graphic entirely, but when it says B1 plus B2, base 1 means this whole thing is base 1. And the whole thing here is base 2. So what you do with those is you're going to add the two bases and then divide by 2. Basically, you're looking for like an average. What's the average of these two bases? Actually, it ends up being right here. But you take the average of it and you multiply by the height. So when you multiply this length by this length, you're going to get a two-dimensional length. That's area. That's basically area. It's easiest to see in the rectangle here, where you have the base down here. And when you multiply it, the geometric version of multiplying something is like taking this whole side and then stretching it out a certain amount. So it took all of this and just like pulled it all the way up. That's what multiplication does, and that's what gets you the area on the inside of this. So rectangle you should already know is base times height. Parallelogram is also base times height, because when you do the base times the height, you would get like a rectangle that fills in like this, but this triangle right here can be proven to be congruent to this little piece over here, so it all works out. Base times height for parallelograms and rectangles. Also, for a square, it's base times height, but squares are a little bit different since the base and the height are already the same. Usually they use the letter S, which you may have seen in the do now. I used S for a side. So you take one of the sides and you just have to square it because they're the same number. Now a triangle is also base times height, but you have to divide it by 2. So remember, the base is this entire distance right here. And you multiply the base times the height and then divided by 2. And then the circle is, of course, a little bit different. and I'm sure you've heard this one before, the area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. Now, some people think the radius squared is actually the diameter. It is not. You need to find the radius, you need to square it. If they give you a diameter, then first divide it by 2 to find what is the radius, and then do pi times radius squared. Now, for all of these polygons here that include the phrase base and height, this is the most important thing. Base and height are always perpendicular to each other, which means they form 90-degree angles. No matter what, the base and the height are perpendicular to each other. That'll help you determine which one's the base, which one's the height. And they didn't really label these right angles here, but there's one, there's one, there's one, and there's 4 right angles in this rectangle, so any one, pick your favorite. Oh, and square, sorry. There you go. So after this, you should take your time to actually find the area of all the various figures that we have on Google Classroom. Make sure to take a picture of your work and just paste it at the end of the document. Just paste your work at the very end of the Google Doc and just include it on the document. And at the end of your work, don't forget to answer the wrap-up questions. Don't forget the reflection questions. You will be graded based on trying these. So, it says, what is the relationship between the base and the height of a polygon? If you took good notes, that's an easy answer right there. And also, what's the difference between perimeter, what we did yesterday, and area, what we're doing today? You should already know that from earlier in this video. Try it out, you'll be fine. And don't forget, your next Delta Math is due on Friday at the beginning of whenever your normal class time is. All right, good luck. I'll check in with you guys tomorrow.